When people think of World War II aviation, France is often overlooked. With little time to innovate, you might expect their aircraft to fall behind, but the reality is surprisingly different. Today, we're exploring every French aircraft that took to the skies during World War II. Let's begin with fighters. Dewoitine D.520. This was arguably France's finest pre-war fighter. It was fast, maneuverable, and could certainly match the early Mess's 109s. Unfortunately, production ramped up too slowly. Had more been available in May 1940, things might have been very different. Morane-Saulnier MS-46. It was the most numerous French fighter used during the Battle of France. While rugged and highly reliable, it was severely underpowered. German pilots often considered it easy prey, especially once combat moved to higher altitudes. Block MB-152. This sturdy monoplane was designed for heavy armor amid. Unfortunately, serious design flaws and manufacturing delays crippled its early deployment. By the time it reached the front lines, it was struggling against the latest Axis threats. Up next, Post 631. A slick twin-engine aircraft primarily used as a heavy fighter and reconnaissance platform. It excelled at long-range patrols. This design spawned a wide variety of successful derivatives used throughout the French Air Forces. Now, this is the Corgan C-714 Cyclone. This was a desperately fast but flimsy lightweight fighter. It was nicknamed the Flying Coffin by many French pilots. However, a small contingent of British flew them with remarkable courage during the 1940 campaign. Arsenal VG-33. This fighter promised exceptionally high performance thanks to its sleek wooden construction. It was fast enough to rival the Dewoitine D.520. Sadly, the production lines were completely halted before the Desig-cooled ever enter widespread service. The next one, Dewoitine D.510, an earlier generation fighter featuring fixed landing gear, which made it clearly obsolete by 1940. It was relegated to training and reserve units, though some still served briefly against the Germans before being sent to North Africa. Up next, Koolhoven FK-58. This was a Dutch-designed hurried Leopardchasse by France to bolster its thinning fighter squadrons. While quick to produce and reasonably fast, French pilots complained bitterly about its lack of armor and defensive systems. The next one, POTS 130. This was a promising but ultimately useless prototype fighter design. While intended to be a replacement for older biplanes, testing revealed it didn't meet the standards required for frontline combat operations in 1940. Let's move on to bombers. Léon-Olivier bombers Leo 451. This was perhaps France's most modern and effective bomber. Its speed allowed it to evade many enemy fighters. Despite being an excellent design, poor tactical deployment meant that it suffered incredibly high casualty rates during Blitzkrieg. AMO 351. A very sleek, fast twin-engine medium bomber. It was part of a major modernization program. However, manufacturing problems delayed its rollout, meaning only a tiny handful saw any action before the armistice in June 1940. Up next, Breguet 693. This was a twin-engine light bomber specifically designed for low-level attic roles. It was agile and highly maneuverable at low altitude, making it one of the most effective close support aircraft the French possessed. POTS 633. A light bomber variant of the versatile POTS 630 family. While many were exported, those remaining in France were pressed into service, primarily conducting medium-altitude bombing raids. AMO 143, a massive, ungainly mid-1930s bomber often described as resembling a flying apartment building. It was hopelessly slow and heavily outdated, making its crews easy targets for German fighters during the battle offense. Then Block M-10. This was a large twin-engine night bomber, known for its rather unusual fixed landing gear. By the time the war began, its speed was inadequate and it was primarily used for training and transport roles. Up next, NC-23. Originally designed as a transatlantic monoplane, this massive aircraft was converted into a four-engine heavy bomber. One variant famously conducted a symbolic raid on Berlin in the opening stages of the war. POTS 540, known for its distinctive high wing and glazed nose. This multi-seat attack aircraft was already obsolete by 1939. It primarily saw service transporting troops and conducting colonial patrols outside of mainland France, continuing reconnaissance and observation with Reconnaissance and Observation POTS 63.11. This was the dedicated reconnaissance series of the POTS 630 series. It featured a distinct heavily glazed nose for optimal observation. It was one of the most important aerial spotters used by the French Army in 1940, Block MB-175, a successor to the famed 170 series. This was a highly modern three-seat reconnaissance bomber. Only a few prototypes were operational when the fighting stopped, but its high performance was undeniable. POTS 637, an early reconnaissance model preceding the 6.3.11. It was used extensively for medium-range mapping and observation duties, forming the backbone of French aerial scouting units. Morane 117. This was a dependable high-wing monoplane used extensively for liaison and battlefield observation. All thought technically obsolete, its reliability in service well into the earlifices of the war. Then POTS 25, a legendary interwar biplane used by dozens of nations. By 1939, it was relegated entirely to advanced training shoals and colonial policing duties in French Africa, proving its remarkable entrance. POTS 39. This high-wing monoplane was a sturdy, seat observation platform, version by newer designs. It provided essential artillery spotting and liaison services throughout the early war. Brigade to 7. This strange-looking two-seat Reconnaissance biplane was unmistakable due to its totally exposed rear fuselage structure. It was ruggedly built but terrifyingly slow when facing modern German fighters. Let's move on to Naval aviation seaplanes and flying boats. Aviation seaplanes and flying boats. Later 2198 considered one of the best French naval aircraft of the era. This large durable float plane excelled at autonomy of marine patrol and coastal torpedo attack. Seeing lengthy service with both Free French and Vichy navies, Lure 130. This was the standard catapult-launched reconnaissance flying boat for the French Navy. It was robust, reliable, and equipped on almost every major French cruiser and battleship during the 1930s and 40s. Brigade 5 to 1 Bursar, a massive four-engine flying boat for long-range maritime patrol over the Atlantic. Its primary roles included dandy of marine warfare and long-distance search and rescue operations. Next, Olivier Leo 470. This was a large four-engine flying boat that was being considered for naval reconnaissance duties. However, development stalled and only a single prototype was ever built and tested. Otescam's 141, a gigantic four-engine flying boat designed for extreme long-range naval reconnaissance missions. Despite its capability, only one example was actually operational. When the war broke out, then WWII 302, originally designed for high-endurance transatlantic mail service. This heavy three-engine flying boat was quickly adapted for military patrol duties, utilizing its incredible range over the ocean. CAMS 55. This was an older biplane flying boat design. While slow and outdated, its rugged structure made it a remarkably dependable asset for basic coastal and harbor reconnaissance pilots. Next, Lu 70. This was a larger three-engine flying boat used for maritime reconnaissance. By 1939, it was starting to show its age, yet it still performed vital patrol duties in the Mediterranean and North Atlantic. Liverpool 7, an outdated single-seat car aircraft used early in the war. It was quickly withdrawn from frontline service due to poor performance compared to Toulon-based fighters. To wrap things up, transport, liaison, and trainers transport liaison and trainers Cordon 45 Goal. A highly successful twin-engine light transport aircraft known for its reliability and excellent visibility. It served extensively for liaison and personnel movement through the war and into the post-war era. Cadran C630 Simoon, a light, sleek, single-engine touring and liaison plane. It achieved fame when the famous writer and pilot Antoine Designac supervised it for his Longue de Distanciation slits. Then Block MB-220. This was a highly successful French pre-war passenger airliner. With the outbreak of hostilities, it was immediately put into service as a crucial military transport aircraft. Pot 650, a larger triple-engine aircraft specifically designed for military transport operations. It was utilized heavily for moving important supplies and personnel between bases. Pots 58, a small, dependable three-seat monoplane used for central communication and lead observation duties across the French theaters of operation. Next, Morane-Saulnier D.520. This iconic parasol-wing monoplane was primary basic trainer for the French Air Force for over a decade. It was the aircraft on which most young French pilots learned their fundamental flying skills. Next, Quadrant C for Phalon. A small high-wing cabin monoplane used extensively for liaison and utilities by the French military, valued for its simplicity and robustness. Hots 9. An older biplane transport design that offered remarkable payload capacity. While outdated, it remained a stalwart transport workhorse, particularly in the North African colonies. The next one, Farman F224. This was a huge four-engine high-wing aircraft originally designed for civil airliner service. It was quickly adapted to serve as a military transport, moving large quantities of troops and supplies.